Good morning, you guys. Happy Monday. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy this morning. It is blue skies and sun this whole morning in Paris. I think this is the best morning that we've had in months, I dare say. It was so beautiful at like 7 a.m. this morning that Jean and I had our coffee and tea and breakfast on the balcony, which is the first time we've done that in I want to say like 7 months. So today is off to a really good start. I'm so happy to see the sun, and I'm also really happy that I even have the energy to be filming this video. I was so beyond sick last week. It was unreal. I can't even remember the last time I was this sick. It wasn't just like a head cold. It was excessive, really deep coughing. I had a 40-degree fever, like the kind of fever where you are literally red in the face. So I was just very unwell last week, and I wish I could say that we did nothing and I got the time to rest and recover, but unfortunately I had prepaid and booked a whole bunch of things that we had to film. One of the worst things that I had to film last week was our staycation in the 16th arrondissement. It's a new series that I'm doing. I've already done the 10th arrondissement, which actually was my least performing video. Like nobody liked that video, which was very surprising to me because I don't know, I thought that it would interest people to see what staying in each of the arrondissements is like, so that you can better plan your trips and stuff. So that's the point of the series, is to go into each arrondissement, to talk about what you have in those arrondissements, the pros and the cons, and how accessible they are and stuff like that. And so in those videos, I am also staying in hotels and like really having that overnight experience so that I can properly explain it and show you guys. So I already did the 10th arrondissement. It's up on my channel. But last week I had booked a hotel in the 16th arrondissement, and not only did I book a hotel, but I booked a restaurant, I booked an evening activity, and it was probably the worst video I've had to film in a while, just because I was very unwell. Like having to get out of bed, to put on nice clothes, to go to a hotel, to check in, to eat at a restaurant, it was just like really not great. And also, obviously I'm not feeling good in my head, but even my taste buds were off, so it was annoying not to be able to enjoy the wonderful restaurant we were eating at. But then the cherry on the cake is that I booked a boat cruise for us in the evening to see the Eiffel Tower sparkle, and as per usual at this time of year, it was pouring rain, okay? So I'm there, not able to breathe, like shivering in my coat, under the rain, on this boat. It was so bad. And even the boat cruise, like the actual experience of being on the boat cruise, normally you want to be on the top deck, that way you can see the left and the right bank of the Seine. But because it had rained so much, the Seine had risen to such a high level that you couldn't even sit on the top deck, because your head would be chopped off when they go into the bridges, because we were so close to the top of the bridge. And then it just became like torrential downpour that everybody on the boat just went inside. So it was really very much a shit show. It was so hard to film sick. And then the other thing we booked was Costco, which was okay because it was kind of like it was the day after the peak of my cold. So I was definitely feeling better, but I wouldn't have gone if we hadn't booked it, I will say that. But it was honestly so much fun. I filmed 2 videos for you guys. I filmed the experience of going to the Paris Costco, and also a haul video of what we bought, so you guys have those to look forward to. It was honestly so cool. Like I was filming this, I was like, oh my god, people are gonna love this video, because it's so interesting to see not only the products that they have, but also the prices of things. And I was really, one of the first things that shocked me was seeing French people loaded up with carts of things. Like it's, I guess because I live in Paris, right? So you don't really see people stocking up on things like you do in North America or at a Costco. But yeah, it really shocked me to see what people had in their carts, or the quantities of things people had in their carts. It was definitely very different than what you're used to in France. You're really like, truly, you're used to buying your fresh baguette every day. You're used to going to the butcher to get your meat fresh every day. Like people typically do their groceries on a daily basis, and not so much like stocking up for months worth of toilet paper. What was also really interesting to me is the volume of people. I have never been anywhere so crowded, and I complain about crowds all the time, but truly there were so many people in this Costco. Granted, we did go on a Saturday, so obviously it's gonna be busier, but I was like shocked at how many people were in that Costco that I turned to the woman who was doing our membership and I was like, when did you guys open? I thought they opened like, I don't know, a couple months ago. And she was like, oh, we opened in 2017. I'm like, it's this busy like 7 years after you've opened? That's kind of crazy. And she was just saying like, yeah, we only have one Costco in this area, and obviously the population of Paris and the surrounding areas of Paris is huge, but also the way that salaries work in France is you get them at the start of the month. And so she was saying like people just got their salaries, like they're here to stock up for the month. So we went, probably not on the best weekend, but yeah, it was just like very busy. It was families everywhere. It was like so many children. I don't think I've ever seen so many kids in a Costco either. It was definitely like the family outing. The coolest part I think of the Costco was definitely is definitely the alcohol section. The alcohol, like the prices were unreal. The products they had were so interesting, and everything was just like in XL bottles. It was very cool. A lot of people asked me if I bought pastries at Costco, and the answer is no. I'm like, maybe I should have for the video, but I don't know. The thing is, you really cannot even come close to comparing a Costco croissant with a fresh croissant from a bakery. The difference is so drastic in quality that it doesn't even matter what the price is, because like a croissant's not that expensive. You can buy a croissant for like €1.40, and that's kind of like, it's like a little morning pleasure, you know? And that morning pleasure is taken away when you swap it for a Costco croissant, just because they, I don't know, they're not as crispy, they're not as flaky, they're not as buttery. So yeah, we didn't buy pastries from Costco. We did buy a red velvet cake, which was awful. Oh, I had one bite and I wanted to cry. We got this massive red velvet cake. It was $12.99. I was like, wow, this is such a good deal. This is the first time I'm finding red velvet in France. I am so excited. Red velvet is my favorite cake. And what I like about red velvet is the thick, heavy cream cheese icing. I could just eat it by the spoonful. And I take my little sliver, I bite into it, and they Frenchified the freaking red velvet cake. They swapped the cream cheese icing for whipped cream icing, which is so common in French cakes and pastries and stuff. I don't know, I guess I just don't like the thicker sugary icing, but oh my god, I was like very much let down. So that was very exciting. Those were probably the two biggest things that I did last week. Oh, and I also did a lot of testing restaurants for my itineraries. Thank you so much, you guys, honestly, for all of the comment suggestions you put on my last podcast for the itineraries. I realized that I didn't include enough vegan and gluten-free options in my restaurants. I didn't include any, actually. So I spent one day last week and I tested, oh my gosh, like 5 gluten-free and vegan restaurants. I literally spent my whole day going around and eating food. It was kind of hilarious to spend a work day doing that. And so the way I've integrated this into the itineraries is for every single restaurant that I suggest, I include an annex with a gluten-free and vegan alternative still in the same neighborhood. So thank you so much. I really think that definitely adds to the itineraries, and I think it makes the itineraries more accessible to more people, which I think is really good. So thank you. Keep the suggestions coming. I read all of them. I love them. Thank you so much. Let me get into your questions, because this week for some reason there is so many questions, and like always, they're so good. As a reminder, every Saturday, Sunday, I will post on my Instagram story with a little question box, and you guys can send your topics, comments, and questions. But yes, let's get to them. Okay, so I got 2 questions like right off the bat about the Olympics. We have one from Robin who says, will the Olympics affect your life much? Will you attend any events? And then Kareem says, will Paris be crowded during the upcoming Summer Olympics? How will you cope with that? You guys, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I think the general vibe of French people and Parisians especially is just that this is such an unwanted event. You guys hear me talk and complain all the time about how crowded Paris is. Truly in the summer months, it's unbearable to live here. Even now, like the tourist season has already started, and it's not like I'm against tourism. I'm a tourist when I travel to other countries, but the problem is the volume of people that all of a sudden are in this city that make it impossible to commute on public transportation, impossible to go to a restaurant, go to a museum without booking weeks in advance. And it's just very frustrating to have to live your daily life in this chaos for months during the summer. So that's like typical tourist. I cannot imagine adding in, what is it, like 14,000 athletes and their family. Like I cannot even imagine adding that, plus all the people who want to come and see the games. It's, I hate to say it, I'm not optimistic about how, like, the logistics of accommodating this many people into the city is going to be. And a lot of Parisians are really offended as well with how the government is communicating on the Olympics, because they're telling people, it was actually hysterical. They literally put out a message telling Parisians, don't order any parcels during the Olympics, like don't order any packages or mail and stuff, like program it before or after the Olympics just so that we don't create traffic in the city. So okay, you're asking us to change our daily habits to accommodate all these tourists, and then they're like, oh yeah, like make sure you're working from home, don't go into the office, like always prioritize working from home during the Olympics. And it's like, okay, so like are Parisians allowed to flush a toilet during the Olympics? Like what were you going to be asked not to do next, you know? So there is just this general concern from people that they're really going to become like second-class citizens in their own country or their own city, and that it's just going to be unbearable to live during the Olympics. I think another really big point of contention as well is the metro system. Right now, we're not even peak tourist season. Right now, the metro is overcrowded. It's sometimes impossible. I specifically book any appointments I have, or I specifically do not go and use public transportation during the morning rush hour or the evening rush hour. And no matter what, Saturday, Sunday is always crazy on the metro. It's like you are like a legitimate can of sardines. You are squeezing into the metro, you are on top of other people, you are breathing in the air, the person in front of you is breathing out. It's just really awful. So I can't even imagine how much worse it's going to be for the Olympics. All that to say, am I going to events? Jean and his friends actually did get tickets to events for the Olympics. And this was another huge point of contention for the Olympics, is that, okay, if you are making French people and Parisians like go through the stress of having all of this like tourism and all of this, honestly, even construction like going on throughout the year to prepare for the Olympics, like the idea would be that they would be able to purchase tickets at an accessible price. And they did sell some tickets at an accessible price, but the way it worked was like a lottery system. So Jean and his two friends ended up putting their names into the lottery system, and one of their friends got picked on the second day. Jean's other friend got picked maybe 2 weeks into it, and Jean got picked at the very end, like 4 weeks into buying tickets. And so him and his friends were actually able to purchase really affordable tickets. I think they ended up getting 4 tickets for 6 events, and the total price for that was €1,000. So it's about 45 euros per ticket per event. And so that's not a bad price. I'm like, that's a great price. But then like his other friends and Jean himself, the tickets were like 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 euros per seat per game. And that's just like kind of a joke to expect Parisians to be paying hundreds of euros for a ticket to go and see a game. So they did do a lottery system. Some tickets were accessible, but a lot of people missed out on the opportunity to buy tickets and to actually see this great event that's going on in the city. So there is like a lot of anger about that. A lot of Parisians are angry that they're not able to go. And I'm really lucky that they ended up getting 4 tickets for the events. Like Jean was telling me that they purchased 4 with the idea of like I would be able to come and their friends could bring a friend as well. And so at first I did not want to be in the city for the Olympics. I feel like I'm ranting with the Olympics. I'm sorry. This is like such a long topic. Skip ahead if you're not interested. initially I didn't want to be here. Obviously I'm like, I don't like crowds. I don't want to deal with it. I didn't want to be here, but then I'm like, oh, my channel's about Paris. I should be filming, like, I should be at least vlogging a couple days of this Olympics chaos. So I do think I'll go with them for maybe basketball. I think they got a basketball ticket or a volleyball ticket. I don't know what events they got, but I might go to one or two with them. What else did I want to say? Oh my god, there was one other thing. Oh yeah, a thing that popped into my head about the Olympics is that there were so many promises made about hosting the Olympics in Paris. So for example, so you guys know I just did my talk with Bonjour Paris for the 8th arrondissement. And one of the things they asked me to show was all of the improvements that have been done, like in the 8th for the Olympics. And at first I was confused. I was like, improvements, like what? And then I remembered that it was promised to the world or like publicized in some way that they would be completely revamping the Champs-Elysees, revamping the neighborhoods, making them more green spaces, more accessible to people who are walking, like nice places to promenade. And so then I realized, oh my gosh, they are thinking that the 8th arrondissement has been renovated. And I'm like, ooh, nothing has been done to change those areas. And so it's kind of crazy to like look at what was promised and like also then look at the fact that nothing's been done. Another thing they promised as well, or not promised, but wanted to offer was free public transportation. And instead of offering free public transportation, they doubled the price of a metro ticket. Normally a metro ticket is between 1.65 and €2, depending on how you buy it, or 2.10, 2.20, depending on how you buy your tickets. And they are making the tickets €4 during the Olympics, which is in some cases more than double the price. So yeah, that's my little rant on the Olympics. I will probably be here for some of it. Initially my thought was to go to Greece and to escape it all. But yeah, it should be definitely interesting to see how things unfold. I will say that. Okay, next question. Kareem says, what do you miss about living in Canada besides your family? I miss the green, open, beautiful spaces. I also miss the feeling of being free, I guess you could say. Like, you guys might have seen it if you saw my last video, my little vlog on Canada. But in Canada, you can go for a hike, you can go skating, you can go for a walk, you can go to a coffee shop, and you can still feel like you have your personal bubble. In some cases, you'll be completely alone. Like I went on the hike with my mom and Joel, and we were completely alone in this forest. And it's like, if you ever did that in a country like France or even in a city like Paris, you're just always systematically going to be in some form of a crowd. It might be smaller, it might be bigger, but you just will always be in a crowd. And so I definitely miss that of not, like I miss not being in crowds, I think is what I'm trying to say. Of course, we have my brother coming in. Tu es tellement jolie. That one seems grammatically correct. Good one, Alex. It means you're so beautiful. Thank you so much. Brianna says, what's your favorite word to say in French? Probably, okay, I was thinking about this. I was like, what's my favorite word and what's the word I say the most? I probably say the word putain the most, which is a really bad habit. Putain is like the F word of France, you could say. And the thing is, when it comes to swear words, because I wasn't raised in a French culture, like I didn't grow up speaking French like that, the gravity of swear words is lost on me. Like I don't fully understand or like really grasp the meaning of a swear word. So yeah, I don't love that I use that word, but like it made me think of it because I had a basketball game yesterday, and whenever I miss a shot, I'd be like, oh putain. And it's so bad. Like I really wish I could kick that habit, but I probably say that word more often than I should. But my favorite French word is definitely bichette. I love the way it sounds. I love what it means. It's kind of just bichette means deer or baby deer, I think. And so it's something that you use to, it's a way that you would talk to your girlfriends. Be like, oh, bichette, like, yeah, it's just a way that you would address your girlfriends. And I just think the word is really cute. So MSKS Camille says, coming to Paris this weekend, should I buy tickets to the Eiffel Tower in advance? Yes, immediately, yes. So right now, as you guys know, I'm doing my itinerary plans, right? And so I'm also trying to visit museums to decide which ones to include on the itineraries. And typically I would not book my tickets in advance. I would just show up. But there's been a couple museums that I have gone to on weekdays and been turned away because they've sold out all the tickets, which means you can't even go to the door and buy them. I haven't tried this with the Eiffel Tower, honestly, but what I'm seeing is that tourist season has already started. It's not in full swing, but it's like you should probably be booking your monuments and your museums, I would say at least 2 days in advance to be safe. So definitely book those tickets. It's always crazy for me to, I don't know, I just don't understand how a museum, like a big museum, can sell out of tickets for the day in February or March. But yeah, it's definitely buy your tickets. If you really have your eye on something, book your tickets in advance. It does cost a little bit more money because I'm also reviewing this for my itineraries. If you buy your tickets in advance online, I think it's about 2 or 3 euros more expensive than buying them at the door. But honestly, I think it's just such a good idea to have your time slot, have your ticket. You're not waiting in lines once you get there. You're guaranteed to go. Definitely, I would say book in advance. Fatima says, I love your hair. They're so pretty. And if you were an animal, what would you be? Thank you so much. I'm having a very bad hair day today. Normally I wash my hair on Sunday after basketball, but I was so tired. I was so tired and sick. I was like, no, I just need to go to bed. So we're kind of having a bad hair day today, but thank you, Fatima. What animal would I be? Oh my gosh. I think I would either be a horse. I've always really loved horse, which is weird because I've never done like horseback riding or anything, but I just like the idea of being able to gallop and run and explore new places. So I'd either be a horse or I would be a bird. I like the idea of being able to travel by flying, even though I hate flying, and also to be able to see things from up high. Oh my god. I'm like losing my words, coughing at the same time. I also like the idea of having a bird's eye view and being able to see things from a different angle. So that's what I would be. Cosinade says, your favorite French food, what must we try if we travel to France? There's so much that you should try. Again, I really had to think about the answer to this one because, like I was saying, when you live somewhere for so long, you sort of lose touch with, not lose touch, but you forget what the most memorable moments were for you when you moved here. But when it comes to food, there's 2 things that I just remember. I remember the most. Like I remember the happiness I felt eating them, the joy, the desire to go home and make them and make my family try it when I went home to Canada. The first thing is a millefeuille. It's a pastry, and millefeuille translates to 1,000 leaves. Basically, it's just a bunch of really fine sheets of pastry. I want to say almost like phyllo, but not as fine as phyllo, and with cream in between and with like this beautiful sugary icing coating on the top. Maybe I'm not describing it in the most appealing way, but it is out of this world good. And if you're from a country where pastries are not very common, like in Canada, it's not common that you would go to a boulangerie and have a fresh pastry. When I tried this, the flavors, the texture just rocked my world. And I tried it on my very first exchange in France. I was probably like 20 at the time. And I was so obsessed with these pastries that every single morning, like I'm not joking, every single morning on my way to school, I would stop at the boulangerie and my breakfast would be this pastry. And on that first exchange, I definitely gained a solid 7 or 8 pounds, and I attribute that all to eating these millefeuilles every single day. They were just so good. And then the second dish that rocked my world is a dish that I tried when I was doing my exchange in Grenoble, which is in the mountains. It's definitely more of a colder climate than Paris or obviously the south. But they have this specialty called croziflets. So there's tartiflette, which is a common French dish that you normally have in the winter. It's potatoes mixed with pork and creme fraiche. And then on top of that mixture of pork, potatoes, and creme fraiche, you have the reblochon cheese, and you put it in the oven and it melts, and you just have this like potato meat cheesy goodness. So that's a traditional tartiflette, which is amazing. But in the mountains in Grenoble, they have, I think it's in Alsace maybe, but they have this specialty called croziflette, where they replace the potatoes with crozettes, which are these little tiny, it's like this size, square pasta. And yeah, I remember tasting that and we were served one portion, and the only thing I could think of is like, how do I get them to give me a second portion? This is so good. And I didn't know what the name was because closiflet, when you hear it the first time, is like, I don't know, it doesn't stick. And so I just spent like, I don't know, weeks after trying to figure out how I could buy this mystery dish, and I finally stumbled back on it. You can buy closettes in the grocery store, so from time to time, Jean and I make a really good closiflet. Kate asks, can you easily buy secondhand goods online in Paris/France and actually receive them? Yes, I do it all the time. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if you're referring to a specific platform. Personally, I use Vinted all the time. And the reason that I think there's no issue with delivery is because when you're buying from Vinted, you're going to do the, what is it called? You're going to select a pickup point and go and pick up the item yourself when it arrives. You're not relying on a delivery man to come to your apartment building to ring your doorbell and you go down and get the package. That typically, like, let's be real, how often this happened to me, like the delivery man either steal your package or don't deliver it and like put it back to the depot. So the reason why it's so much easier to receive secondhand items is because you're sending them to a pickup point and you yourself are going to pick up that package. But yeah, I've never had any problems with receiving a Vinted. I mean, sometimes during the like Christmas especially, because everyone's buying their gifts on Vinted, and not just gifts, but like in general, the postal system is like overwhelmed. Sometimes the delays can be excessive, but typically it's very easy to buy secondhand in person and online. And it's actually something I definitely recommend you do, because the vintage clothes that you find in Europe and in France are just of such better quality than I think what you'd find in a place like Canada, the US, or in North America. That's just my assumption. I don't know because I've never bought, but yeah. I don't know this name. ASDGHIG. She asks, she says, for my next trip to Paris, I made my itinerary based on your YouTube videos. Please keep posting. Gosh, that makes me so happy to hear. I will keep posting some itinerary videos. I, for the most part, am going to start making my itineraries online on my website to be sold. And I know that's annoying. I definitely do see comments sometimes of being like, oh, I hope you're not like other YouTubers that make all of their content paid or whatever. The thing is, making itineraries actually costs me a lot of money. Like, because I want my itineraries to make sense, to be accessible in the way I want them to be really good quality, I go and I test all of the, not test, but I like regularly check up. Like every 6 months I'm checking up on the restaurants that I'm recommending, and I'm also testing every single museum in Paris. And so it is like a lot of time and money to do these things. And I think to me, it makes sense to pay for that kind of knowledge, because it's like the time and money I spend to get that knowledge and to give it to other people. I think it does make sense to pay for an itinerary. So I know it's like it's maybe a taboo subject to talk about, but at the end of the day, I do have to, like, I have to earn money to be able to go out and make these itineraries. And to be fully transparent about YouTube, because I think maybe people assume that YouTube you make so much money, but per view, I make 0.00 cents. So that's how much money I make from one view. And so you can do the math, you can imagine like how YouTube isn't as lucrative as you might assume if you're not like getting millions of views. So yeah, unfortunately I do have to start making itineraries that I sell on my website. I will maybe continue the series a little bit on my channel, but I'm really happy that the ones I did put out were helpful to you. I mean, that is the point, and it makes me happy to hear, because I really genuinely put so much work into my itineraries, and yeah, it just makes me really good happy to hear that they're useful for you guys. Headspace 4 says, have you ever experienced failed friendships while or because of living abroad? All the time. All the time. I would say that actually being abroad has strengthened my friendships back home. I'm thinking specifically of my best friend. Like, her and I are rock solid, and because we're so far apart, we do put more effort, I think, into sending each other voice messages and text messages and like having really long calls and stuff. So it's not so much with the friends back home that I lose touch with, it's the friendships that you make while you're abroad. Because the thing is, when you're an adult and you're trying to make adult friendships for the first time, I think it's hard for both parties to have the mentality of like really wanting to accommodate another person. Because I'm like, okay, I have my boyfriend, I have my family, I have my best friend. And so to go into having an adult relationship and having to make concessions and compromises, I think it's challenging when you look at the other really amazing relationships that you have where you don't really have to make those same compromises. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's definitely really hard to make friends as an adult when everybody has their own work schedule, their own families, their own kids. It's like you see each other a lot less. And I think as well, the reason why with my best friend, for example, I think her and I were able to build such a strong foundation is that we work together. So we literally saw each other every single day for, I don't know, like a year and a half. And we also lived within 1 minute of each other. So it's so much easier to build a friendship with someone that you are like literally right next to, because it means you don't have to plan things a month in advance. You can literally just like walk over, have coffee, and like spend an hour and go home. You can go over after work and have dinner. It's so much easier to build those friendships when you're within close proximity. So it's definitely challenging for me right now to build solid female friendships. And it's just happened a lot, especially like I think where the living abroad comes into play is that, so let's say you put in the work. I think I'm coming at it with like a kind of a negative perspective because it's just like the same thing over and over. You put in the work, you meet these amazing women, these amazing friends, you're both putting work into this friendship, and then their semester abroad ends, their work contract ends, and they go home. And it's like that whole friendship that you built and you work towards is gone. And so actually when I started to, like what I've started to do in the past year when I'm making friends is I've been really clear about what I'm looking for, that I'm looking for other women like me who are kind of settling down or at least planning on staying in Paris for, you know, a couple years. Because it just like, it's heartbreak. It is heartbreak. You make these friends, you love these people you meet, and like within 6 months they're gone and you have to restart the whole process. So that's definitely the hardest part about making friends abroad, for sure. Mimi says, what does Jean do for work? Oh my gosh, it's so hard to describe what Jean does, but he basically manages the technical aspects of buildings in Paris, I want to say. Like the electrical, the plumbing, the construction, like kind of the managing brain behind all those projects. Very different from what I like used to do, what I went to school for. I'm kind of scared to edit this video because like in the last 10 minutes, I've started to hear children screaming outside. I don't know what they're doing, why they're not in school right now, but it's distracting even me, so I hope it's not that bad for you guys. Brittany says, where's a place you want to go but haven't yet and why? Oh man, Scotland is on our list, is on my list. We haven't gone because it's expensive and we're gonna need to take a lot of time off. So that's a place I really, really want to go. Other than that, probably for 7 years, my dream trip has been the Sound of Music bus tour in Austria. I want to go so bad. I don't know why I haven't gone yet. I don't know why. I think I don't know. That's a really good question. Thank you for reminding me. I really should book that trip. I've just like truly wanted to go on this bus tour trip for so long. And actually now that it's sunnier and we're not like peak tour season, I probably should get on that. And then the last question for Brittany as well, what's the best way to make friends in France? You know what, that is the second video I ever made on my channel because I was like, I cracked the code because I came to France, right, all alone. I had nobody here and I made friends so quick. I was like, I need to tell people I cracked the code. And so the number one best way that I found to make friends is to live with roommates. So I know it's like tempting, I guess, to get your own studio, get your own space, but the problem is you're really isolating yourself. And when you have roommates, it's not just your roommates that you become friends with, you become with the friends of your roommates. With my very first roommate situation in France, I had 2 other like roommates, and so I don't know, we had a great time. It was on and off, like we definitely had like clashing personalities, but we would have dinners together, we would have parties together, they would bring their friends over, I would meet their friends. And so for me, it was like really useful to have access to so many different French people and be able to create those friendships and relationships. And then the other thing that I think is essential in making friends is joining a sport or a club or an activity. You guys hear me talk all the time about my basketball friends. And the thing is with a team sport especially, like I'm so pro team sport, is that not only are you guys playing together, you're working together for the common goal of winning together, but you're also like practicing with each other, you are playing games, and it ends up being that you routinely see the same people like 2 or 3 times a week. And I think that's the biggest issue, is that when you go to like just a workout class, or if you just go to a drop-in anything, you're not in the mental space of consistently seeing the same people and just like force of habit saying hi to the same people. And then, you know, over time it's like, oh, do you want to go for coffee? Da, da, da. When you're doing things that are like drop in and you don't see the same people, I think it's really hard to build friendships, to meet people and stuff. Like even John, look at John and I, we met on our basketball team. And why did we end up working out is because we were forced in a sense to see each other 3 times a week for months, you know? Like I think one thing that I really think about when it comes to Jean is initially, like he is shorter than me, and initially that's something that I would have shied away from. Like I think if I had gone on one date with a man, oh my god, sorry, these kids are literally screaming. I do not understand why they're not in school right now. But so I know I'm talking about Jean, which is not a friend, but it really is the same thing for me. It's, I think, applicable, is that so Jean is shorter than me, and not initially, but generally I don't go for shorter men. Like I think I've always been hesitant for that, just like for my own confidence. I want to be the smaller person. But I think if we had just like, if I'd seen him on Tinder, I think I would have seen his height and been like, no. Or if I'd gone on one date, I probably would have let the superficial aspect of that one thing overwrite my feelings for Jean. But the fact that we saw each other, I saw his personality, and we like it's like forced. It's not forced, but you systematically see someone multiple times a week, your relationship automatically grows. Like your relationships that should grow kind of automatically do. Like you gravitate to people that you see their personality and you like, and you're like, oh, okay. Because you see it over time, you're able to make a solid friendship. I think, gosh, I'm sorry. It's like the second there's noise, I lose all train of thought. But to summarize that point, I think the key to anything, to making friendships, to building romantic relationships, is to do an activity where you consistently see the same people, which gives you the chance to see their personalities and to, over the course of time, know them better and have the, not just the courage, but also the desire to see them outside of that activity and build your friendship from there. Woo, that was long-winded. Oh my gosh. I just like rapid fire through that, but I'm just so happy the sun is out. I am ready to have the best day ever today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if I talk too fast. And I'm also sorry I didn't post on Saturday like I said I would. I just like really was unwell. So there's like a backlog of all these videos that I filmed last week. So you will have a video on Thursday, and I probably have videos lined up for the next month at this point. So I hope you guys enjoy those. And yeah, I hope you guys have a really good week. I hope it's sunny where you are as well, and I'll see you in the next one.